All right, it looks like it's top of the hour and we've got a fair number of folks on today. So I'd like to welcome you all to the second of our WFDSS Next Gen office hours and live demos. The topic that we're going to talk about today is getting system access and some of the things that that entails. On the line, we also have Sam Amato, Wes Hall, and Rick Mowry, who are all part of the WFDSS Next Gen team. If you've got any questions, just drop them in the chat. The Q&A doesn't seem to be working, and I think it has something to do with our license. So just go ahead and use the chat as you would a Q&A. All right. And I do see from the attendees that I see a lot of familiar names. So some of you may have already gone through this getting access portion of the training, but we'll jump into it again and see if it maybe they have some questions that we can go over as well. All right, so WFDSS Next Gen, the roles and access are controlled through the Wildland Fire application portal, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Somebody give me the thumbs up when they can see my screen. I got a hand up. I'm going to call that a thumbs up, and I'm going to drop this into the chat as well. Thank you. So stand by. So the Wildland Fire Application Portal, or FAMAuth, as you may have heard, is what governs the roles and access to our application. And a lot of the applications are now governed through FAMAuth. And I am not a FAMAuth expert. I just know what I can figure out, trying to make sure that we can get folks in. So I'll also point you to some FAMAuth literature if you're interested in diving deeper, you have a really specific problem to get to that. So FAMAuth is an authorization through either your e-authentication or through login.gov if you're a public partner. And I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera off so that I have a little more bandwidth. And so you can, if you have a government PIV card or e-authentication, you can log in this way. I do recommend that if you have both the login.gov and an e-auth, that you work with the FAMAuth folks to link those accounts so that you can access any of the applications within FAMAuth on your not government computer if needed. So if you're at home in the evening and you need to get on, having that login.gov account is really going to be helpful. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to log in using my login.gov account here. So I did drop that in there. And so this is me and I have a FireNet account. Yep. Whoops. It's always when I'm on camera that I forget what my password is. Sorry about that. Well, this is true of what's going to happen to everybody. So it's good to have your authenticator application ready to go. So here we are. Now we're in the FAMAuth application, Wildland Fire application portal. And you'll see all the applications that are supported within this portal, as well as managed, their application access and roles when it loads. Any questions while we're waiting for this to load up? Oh, there it goes. All right, so here you can see these are all the, under the Wildland Fire applications here, these are all the production applications that are supported under the Wildland Fire application portal. And you can see here we have WFDSS, which is WFDSS Classic. You can tell by the red circle and, I mean, the black circle with the red flames. and the WFDS Next Gen production application. This production application is not going to be released until March 26th. So trying to access through this specific tile will not take you to an application. You'll likely get an error. So we don't recommend using this application at this time. If you look down further, you'll see that there's training applications. Under the training applications, scrolling down again almost to the bottom, you'll see a lot of icons that have flames, but we're specific to this orange to red gradient that says WFDS Next Gen. And you'll see that there's 3 more application instances here. So as we go forward, WFDS will be available on 2 instances or environments for users, general users to use. And those will be WFDS Next Gen EDU or WFDS EDU and WFDS production. EDU is training, and that will be where folks will be able to go in and practice with the application. And the WFDS Next Gen production will be where users will go ahead and work with active fire incidents. It'll be the official system of record as of the transition on March 26th. Some things to know about FAMAuth. FAMAuth has its own security controls, and they are a little pickier maybe than what you're used to. Well, they're different than what you may be used to with WFDS Classic. The system has controls that if you do not log into the the Wildland Fire application portal at all, in 330 days, your full account will be removed. That includes your any application that you have assigned to you would also be removed. However, if you log into FAMAuth to get to just WFDS production and you don't touch WFDS training in that 330 days, you'll lose the access to WFDS training, whichever one you didn't access training, I think is what I said. So that's something to keep track of. The bonuses to this FAMAuth environment is that there are no more passwords. So you don't have to, other than your login.gov password, but there's no passwords that we have to update every 60 days or 90 days. And the ability for folks to be able to, on the support side, to help you get your account back in a certain amount of time, that's a fairly simple endeavor to be able to continue with your roles and your application access. As time goes on, it just turns into a brand new account. So you would start over from scratch, building up your account, your FAMAuth account, your FAMAuth user account, as well as any application access and roles. You do get a notification from FAMAuth, and it is slightly vague. So it comes to you and it says an application. You're within 10 days of your application being removed. It doesn't tell you which application. So if you are somebody who has a lot of applications, you may have to click on all of them. But that's the good part, is just clicking on the tile and accessing the application resets that clock to 330 days. So if you do the math, 330 days is about 11 months. So to set a calendar invite or a calendar reminder to do it once every year is not going to hit that 330 days. So if you're not somebody who uses the application a lot or each of the application instances, it might be a good practice to just set up a reminder every 6 months to be able to go into the application and get those credentials refreshed. So back to the instances or the environments of WFDS Next Gen. So as I said, we'll have 4 instances: the production, the EDU, the OAT, and the UAT. Users, general users, will just be allowed access or be encouraged to access the EDU, the training environment, and the production environment once it's launched on March 26th. The OAT environment, operational acceptance testing, and the UAT environment, user acceptance testing, those will be kind of held for folks that are helping the application team test certain features within the application. For the last year or year and a half, we've actually invited everyone into the UAT application or the instance environment of the application, just to get a feel for it as we were working to get that EDU environment released to folks. So that was somewhere where we were practicing, but it's definitely a development environment and slightly unstable for continuity of information. We had some instances where any user created data was removed through some of the enhancements, but and that's probably what will happen to the UAT environment again. But so some people have had access to the UAT environment, and those folks, if you had a role and access to the UAT environment, we did our best to get you moved over on the backside directly into the EDU environment. So that's the environment that everyone should be going to now. And we're going to talk about how to get that, how to get access and how to get a role. First, I'm going to show you a pro tip here. If you're on the screen or if you navigated to this screen or just thinking about it, if you click on this star in the upper right of the tile that you're interested in, so WFDS Next Gen EDU, I'm going to click on that star and it's going to pin it to the top of my application. So I don't have to scroll through all of these tiles again. And now it's here. This section wasn't here until I made an application that was a My Training application. So we can also put the WFDS production application tile up there, and you'll see it'll populate above it in the My Production applications. So just a reminder, that is not an application that's open to the public yet, or not even to any users yet. And we will transition from WFDS Classic to WFDS Next Gen on March 26th. Okay, so one big change from WFDS Classic is that the application roles previously were managed within the application. For WFDS Next Gen, those roles are managed, so managed, requested, and granted through FAMOF. And so we'll have to tailor our requests to be able to best get your requests to the folks that need to approve them. What hasn't changed is that the geographic area editors are integral part to this process. And so coordination between users and their geographic editors to really ensure that you're getting access to the right instance of the application as well as the right role to meet the user's needs. So one question, well, how do we find out who our GAE is? And I will get to that, I promise, but I don't want to leave that out. So there are several ways that we can go ahead and start to request access. And I'm going to do the easiest one first, and we'll hope that it's easy. So we're going to click on this tile for WFDS Next Gen EDU, and it's going to take me to the application. And users who have not been into the application will get this warning notice. I'm sure you can see it. You need to set up an account or a request in FAMOF. So I'm going to go ahead and click this blue request access link, and it's going to take me back to FAMOF to be able to, excuse me, to go ahead and request it. So here we see it already knows what my application is. It's going to be WFDS Next Gen. Side note, we share that bucket with WFDS Classic, so you may have already gone through this process before. The instance is EDU, so that's the environment that I want to go into. And for now, I just want to select this viewer because I need to know who my geographic area editor is to be able to make sure that I'm getting the right role. And here you can see a brief description of that role. viewer is the default user role. You can really only look at your profile management or your profile and the geographic editor, area editor staff report. So that's true. That is what I want to do. With the viewer status or the viewer role, those are automatically granted, but you still have to fill out the verification contact. So I can use an existing contact because I've requested access before. You'll notice that this does say put in your manager or supervisor or your contracting officer. And here is where we are trying to help promote that you work with your geographic area editor. If you put your geographic area editor's name here, it comes to them more simply. They're able to search for their own name to be able to grant those requests. So it might speed things up a little bit. And you do have to enter this information. So I am going to use an existing contact, and I think I have Smokey Bear in there. And you do have to fill out all these fields. Now, this will not send an email to Smokey Bear. But if Smokey Bear goes into approve roles, he'll be able to sort by his name. So I'm going to save. And then I'm going to close out of this window. So I still have my Windows or my, excuse me, WFDS Next Gen EDU here. I'm just going to refresh it. I'm actually just going to close it. And I'm going to go back to FAMOTH. And I'm going to select it again for my, and you'll see here, you can't view the page as a viewer. Contact your geographic area editor to obtain the appropriate user role to continue. And we click OK, and then automatically the GA staff report comes up. Now, this staff report includes the information of all the folks that have the geographic area editor role in their geographic editor or in their geographic area and agency. You can use these controls at the bottom of the page to show it all on one page. You can use this CSV icon to be able to download this list and import it into Excel. And then you can sort by the user's name or the geographic area. So that's going to be what I'm going to select here is a geographic area. And so you can, these are alphabetical. If you hit it again, they go the other way. So all the geographic area editors that people have put in are here. If you're not sure, you look here in the Southwest and say, oh, I'm not sure which of these folks would be correct for me to go to. You can look at the agency and you can see, okay, I can see a couple Park Service folks, a couple Forest Service, one BLM, but let's say that this BLM person isn't reachable. Another way you can do this is you can look at your agency, look at BLM and look at somebody close by, and they might be able to tell you who to contact. And, or if you want to go say that I'm in say I'm in Alaska and I work for, everybody's got these filled out. Okay, I'm going to say Eastern area. So say I'm in the Eastern area and I need a BLM person. I can still reach out to this Forest Service person, Matt, and see, contact him. He's got his email address here and find out if he knows who the geographic area editor is for me. So if your geographic area editor covers more areas than one, they'll be in here multiple times. If they cover more agencies, they'll be in here multiple times. And having this contact information allows you to be able to get in touch with them pretty quickly. So back. So now that I've seen who my geographic area editor is and I've confirmed that it's Smokey Bear, I can go ahead and request application access and roles. So you can either do that. Yeah, you have to do it here. You can clicking on the down arrow next to your name in the right-hand corner of the screen. scroll down and you should have the request app access and roles option. And I'm going to go ahead and click that. And I'm going to see that very familiar screen again for the application access and roles. But you'll see that this isn't filled out now. So I do have to go back and select the application that I want, which is WFDS Next Gen. And the instance, I'm still only interested in EDU. Now for each application instance, you can only have one role, and each of these roles is, they're hierarchical. So the editor is the most common, and is probably going to be the one that most users are going to use. So I'm going to click on editor and I'm going to read the role description. Oh, it says most common. So it allows users to view the map, incident information, start and edit incident decisions, and act as an incident decision approver as individual qualifications allow. Well, that sounds like me, but I also have taken 495, or I have other fire behavior skills and training, and I've talked to my geographic area editor, and they agree that I meet the qualifications for a fire behavior analyst within the system. I can select fire behavior analyst. So fire behavior analyst would then have all of the permissions within the application that the editor has, but then also have additional permissions to access and run fire behavior analyses, as well as some other implicit roles. And we'll talk about those. Those will be the topic of the next call. We'll talk about roles and incident privileges and how those vary. So say I've just been promoted to another position where I am, I've been asked to take on some geographic area editor duties. It's been approved, and I've let everyone know that that's what I'm going to do, and I've been recommended up to the Wildland Fire Management Research Development and Application Group as a GAE, and so it's all been approved. I can go ahead and I can select geographic area editor. The difference here, so this geographic area editor then includes all of the permissions of both the fire behavior analyst and the editor, but also allows the user to be able to approve and manage role requests within the FAMOF application. So I can read this and I say, oh, that is actually not me. So I'm going to go back and I'm just going to click on editor. That is me, and I have confirmed that Smoky Bear is my geographic area editor. So I'm going to go ahead and put that contact information back in, and I'm going to submit. This, and I get a success sign that that's been submitted. You can see that I've done this many, many times with this account. And I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. So at this point, my request is not approved automatically. And it is waiting in a bucket for a geographic area editor or a support person to go ahead and approve it. That's a good time to contact your geographic area editor and say, hey, I put in a request. If you have time, can you go in and approve it? Drop them a line or anything like that. I did not ask anyone to approve that. Sam or Wes or Rick, are any of you in there where you can approve it so I can open that up? Otherwise,
let me jump back in there and I'll see if I can get that for you.
Okay, actually I can do it from here. So this is, I just wanted to go quickly into this view profile where users can update their profile information. And this is going to be really important to be able to populate the user lists so folks can search for you by your information, as well as be able to contact you if you're on an incident or you're part of an incident decision making group, or you're they want to add you. So you can see here that this information that's in gray is coming directly from my FAMOF account. And then I can go ahead and I can set my own geographic area at the area that I live in or that I work in, what the agency I work for, and then I can also select the unit. So the unit is going to be filtered by the first two choices. So if I had selected Rocky Mountain and Bureau of Land Management, my options would be different here. I'm going to go back to the Forest Service. I'm going to select Regional Office. And so at this time, we do not have the notifications set up. So you can click these buttons, but you won't get any text notifications or email notifications. So you can just ignore those for now. But you'll see that this red required field is your primary phone number. So I'm going to go ahead and enter that and click Save. If I wanted to, and I wanted to send this to my, it's already going to send to my FireNet account, but if I wanted to send it to my Gmail also, that would be another place that folks could get a hold of me. It's also, I mean, when we get the notification set up, that would be another way to do that as well. You can see here what my system roles are. And right now they are just viewer. Because Rick's going to go in and he's going to approve me, maybe. Or, I mean, so that's what it is. If you are waiting on something and you want to check to see if you've been given any advanced roles, this is a place to look for that. So that's under your profile, person in the right-hand corner, view profile, and that's how you get here. So there's also some other tabs here you can see, and then I'm going to just jump to system preferences, I think. And so system preferences just sets up specifically this initial page. So when WFDS NextGen opens, it defaults to the incidents. And so sometimes that may cause folks a little wait time because it's loading up all the incidents and a lot of data. So if you want a quick open or you just like the way that my home looks better, you can set that and save it. Some of this other functionality is going to come out not long after our first release on March 26th. I'm going to click Save. You also see like this GAE tab is not available to me because I'm not a geographic area editor. So I'm going to log out and log back in. Did you do it, Rick? Sorry, rushing you. I said don't do it, and now I'm asking you to do it.
You have your editor role approved.
Thank you. So now we can see that it's totally different because I've asked it to go to my home, which is now available to me, as well as look at what that incident screen looks like. So this is as far as we're going to go in terms of the system access and accounts and roles. We'll definitely dive in more about how these apply to individual incidents next week, but we can go ahead and open it up to questions now. You can go ahead and put anything in the chat. You can raise your hands. We have it set up so you can just take yourself off of mute, come on camera, whatever you'd like.
Hey, Sarah, it's Curtis. Question for you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
As I went in, like mine is Dan Michaels in Northern California at North Ops. And do I have to, I can't remember what you said as I'm in here in the training part. Do I have to put in that unit? Because right now it says no unit, you know, when you update your profile. Oh, I get it. You just put the forest you're on. So for me, it would be the Mendocino
right.
National Forest, correct?
That's right.
Just find that. Okay. Think I get it. Thank you.
Sure. And so then I'll show you like how that comes out. So now we have another option here under our profile. Still sharing, right? Okay. That says search users. And yes, I would like to search users. So if I go in here, I can type someone's name and I can see once Curtis clicks save, we'll see his area and agency. I can see that you're an incident editor.
I'm scared to. Do I hit the approver, that little button, say yes, off
Next
on
to
the right
approver.
hand
No,
side?
you just click save. Yep,
Just hit save. So stay away from
that's
that.
right.
Okay.
Yep.
I must be
Don't be
missing
scared.
something.
But we can also use this user search to search by agency. So say I need to know someone in the Bureau of Land Management who can is either an analyst or geographic area editor, because I know they both can run analyses with me for me within the system, and I can click search and it'll bring up all of them. You'll see here, you have the same controls here where you can increase the items per page, go through the pages. There's only 8 that have their information in here, and they're all geographic area editors. You can also search Bureau of Land Management by area. So let's say if we go to Rocky Mountain, we can see all of the users that have put in Rocky Mountain BLM as their profile, and you're able to contact them. So that's the way this user search works. If you had some that you wanted to send an email to, so say you were a geographic area editor and you wanted to send an email to everyone who had Rocky Mountain and BLM together, you could copy their emails and send a mass email to them through your system. So that's where that's going to come out. But here, we'll go back, see. You can search by first or last name. You can search by just a letter even. Oh, let's clear these, clear all. We'll just start back. You can see everybody whose first or last name starts with a C is going to come up here. And there's 38 people. I'm going to go back to Curtis's. Still not in there. But he did mention this approver, and I'll touch on it really quickly here. It's going to be something that we'll talk about next week as well. In your profile, there's this approver box. And what that indicates is that you are, you have the qualifications and certifications and authority to be a deciding official on a decision document. So if I click it, that's exactly what I have to do. I have to solemnly swear that, yes, I have completed the training to be an agency administrator. I'm responsible, and I agree for that. And that'll allow your line officers to be assigned as the approver for a decision. So I'm not going to do it because I don't need to do that. So that's what that's about. Okay, what else you got? Other questions?
Yeah, Sarah, this is Mary on Tonto. I don't know if this is a user role issue or not, but I figured I'd ask. I started a new incident in training to try and set up some scenarios for training on my forest in the next month, and it doesn't let me see or start a decision of any kind. It'll let me put a point in and give it a name, but then it doesn't show up as an incident. Is that because I don't have authority for something, or?
No. So we're halfway there on that. And we're working behind the scenes to try and figure out an option to be able to create those incidents, to create a decision from those incidents. And we'll absolutely be letting folks know when they can do that. But that's not a user error. That's functionality that's not quite there yet.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, but so for trainings within your area, you're welcome to pull any of the incidents that are already existing and you can start a decision on those and go ahead.
No, we'll do that if we
And
need to, but we're
yeah,
usually the
yeah.
first ones out of the stable in the spring, so we're expecting to need it soon. We
Yeah.
wanted to start from scratch and see what happened.
Absolutely. That was definitely something that we had hoped to have operational when we rolled out training, but it's coming, and definitely we're trying to work with some other systems to be able to figure out a way around that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is a feature, not a bug. Any other questions that folks are having? We can talk about general questions. If you have questions specific to the application, it doesn't have to be specific to the topic of the demo. This is open now. Go ahead, Dylan Reader.
Hey, Sarah, you may have mentioned it, but for all of those production requests that are pending, when you guys go live, you're approving all those. Are you doing any kind of quality control on specific requests like fire behavior specialists or that, or are you just mass approving all those requests?
So we did move folks from, or we copied folks from UAT to EDU, and all of those we've been doing quality control against the WFDSS Classic application. So if users were fire behavior analysts in Classic, we did allow them that role. There's going to have to be some scrutiny to the ones in production, and we may be working with GAEs prior to the full release of production to get that list cleaned up. But our hope is still to be able to move some of those users into the system without having to go through that list. The other thing is we do have to manage, there's no mass delete or mass reject or mass anything on those requests that are sitting in FAMOF admin. So we'll still have to touch every single one of those. Oops. Does that make sense?
Yes, and at this point, the GAEs are still, unless you guys ask, you don't want the GAEs doing anything with production approvals, right?
That's correct. And only EDU is what we're approving. And so if users are requesting OAT or UAT, we're asking that folks work with them to get an EDU request instead.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. No, thank you. Thanks for your help. I do see a question in the chat, and I don't know if Sam answered some of the questions, but do you want to do a quick overview? Of the strategic objectives and management requirements, or the spatial fire planning data, or shall I quickly look at Diane's question, because I feel like that's a faster one regarding collaborators.
I think Diane's question would be best right now.
Me too. Okay, Diane, do you have, what incident are you working on?
Hi. So I've been working on the 427 incident east of Santa Fe. And so I'm on the collaborators sub-tab, and I'm in the edit collaborators section. And there is a collaborator name like field, and there's a drop-down list of names, but it seems to be just a shortened list of names that I can choose from. But like, for instance, if I wanted to add like Mary Lotta as a collaborator, I can't type in her name, like nothing happens. I can't find her, you know, even though she's in the GA. So I'm wondering, am I missing something? Or maybe that's just something that you guys are still working on, is the collaborator part.
Yeah, we've definitely identified that as something that is going to be fixed before we go to launch, both the search function and trying to be able to see that whole list of collaborators. You'll notice now that I think it's sorted by the first letter of their first name and not the first letter of the last name. So there's just a few little tweaks that need to happen to make that a little more useful to folks. Because it's only showing you a version of 100 names within that list, and not the whole, not everyone within the application, but that's coming. So not a user error.
Do you think that that pick list that shows up, even though it's incomplete right now, like it won't be the entire list? Will it be like people in your GA, or how will that work, do you feel? I mean, is there a plan for that, I guess?
We're not sure why it's only showing 100, and it's not a consistent 100, so we're not sure where that's coming from.
Okay.
So yeah, it's gonna get fixed.
Okay, I'll just keep an eye on it. Thank you.
But no, that's great. I mean, that's great for other people to understand that if it's your question, it'll be somebody else's question as well.
I have one more quick
So-
question too, since I've got you.
Okay.
I found it really easy to locate the incidents. You know, whatever is, if it's in your map display, you can find in the list in the right-hand panel. So that's handy. I also noticed that if you click on the name of the incident in the map display, there's arrows where you can either start a decision or go to a decision. And those aren't working yet, but do you think those will be active before it launches later in March?
So those are related to what Mary Latta asked, I believe. So here we can see, yes, these buttons
Okay.
right here, start decision and go to decision, that's going to be something that's coming. And so just for other folks, as we're looking at other things, you can see that the icon for this fire, Bailey switch, is the same as the WFDSS icon. If we zoom out and get some other fires in here, you'll see fires are shown with a different icon, and those ones all do not have a decision started within NextGen. So this is an initiated decision that's been started. So that's the way you can actually differentiate between some that have decisions or don't, or started. Rick? Is your hand up?
I had just a quick note on Diane on your first one. Right now, the fix that should be in place when we go live is on that collaborator list, it'll be the whole list of people, but you can start filtering it down by starting to type a name. So it won't be limited to your GA, which, you know, honestly, we move around enough for incidents. It might not be something you would want to do anyway for that one. But initially, it will be a whole list, but you can filter it down pretty quick.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Mary, oh, you put your hand down. Anything else while we're looking? Did want to show folks two other things while we're here, or not in the application, outside of the application, just for reference. So I said I am not a FAM auth subject matter expert, but if you want to learn more about FAM auth, there are a lot of user guide and all these things here that can help understand what might be going on with your account. You can also reach out to the IIA help desk, and hopefully they can help point you to someone who can help you. And then I want to reiterate that we've got, this is our homepage for WFDSS NextGen, and it's got a lot of resources on it on how to find help. You can use a search bar at the top to search for topics. So say I wanted to talk about roles, it'll give me back anything that has discussed roles, and I can go right to that topic and see more information about it. Same with system access. This is what we just went over. So if you need that to go back to that and go through different steps on that, we've got that available for you. If we go back to the home, we do have our own tutorial YouTube page, and we have the webinar from last week we've got up here, as well as a bunch of different topics. Some of these are micro videos, so less than 5 minutes, and some of them are a little longer and go a little more in depth. But those are available to you. So user search, geographic area, finding your geographic area editor, those things are in there to go back to. Rick Mowry. Is your hand still up or is it up again?
I not on my end. That could be a Teams artifact. Sorry.
Okay. All right, are there any other questions about that folks have run into on the application that they want to cover? Anything that we talked about in the demo? We do have 15 minutes left, so this is time to help troubleshoot some issues if you're having them. We'll plan to continue to have these sessions weekly through the launch of the application, and really rely on users to help us prioritize what topics we should focus on going forward. So drop me an email, set it in the chat if there's a topic that you'd like to see come up sooner than later. And we'll be sending out another newsletter to all users next week, early next week, with the schedule of March topics for our office hours. So that'll be available. Anything else that we can talk about? I'm going back through the chat just to make sure. So Missy submitted a question, can we generate additional training fires on federal lands in EDU? And we're absolutely trying to figure out how we're going to be able to do that. We think we have a path forward. It's just a matter of being able to link up to the appropriate Irwin records to be able to create them on a instance that won't affect the production instance of Irwin. We're so close. So Mark has a suggestion in the chat for future topics, strategic course of action. And I do believe we have both a basic strategy or a strategy overview scheduled for March, as well as getting into those kind of a side-by-side comparison of those. And so we're also working on creating more videos on our YouTube page that'll kind of do a side-by-side comparison of each of the steps or each of the tabs and the steppers, and how they were treated in WFDS Classic and how they will go forward in WFDS Next Gen. So hopefully that'll help those folks that have that muscle memory in WFDS Classic to be able to readjust with the new system in an intuitive way.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you. That is probably one of the things that has the I would say the most amount of perceived change. I mean, there are things in it that aren't really changed, but it definitely is a new approach on that strategic course of action and strategic assessment from WFDS Classic. So we'll definitely be spending a lot of time helping users to understand how to approach that. We've got about 10 minutes left. I can keep this meeting open for the next 10 minutes if anybody else has any questions, but I think we can conclude this portion unless anybody else has any questions.
Hey, Sarah, I'll take the chance to ask this. Is FAMAuth, can you use FAMAuth on a mobile device? on an iPad, iPhone, anything like that that you guys have found?
You can. I mean, I've done it using my my login.gov because that has a password.
And it
But I
allows
haven't
you
tried
to
it on
go
my
through
government.
FAMOS and then open up the application, because I get into a loop where it just opens up a window and it doesn't let you get into like WFDS EDU if
Huh.
you're on an iPad. And I didn't know if anybody had played around with it or not.
I have not on my iPad, but I think I did access it on my personal cell phone and I was able to get to the application, but it's not very conducive to using it on a cell phone because we've got a lot of real estate in next gen and a little tiny cell phone, so a little harder to navigate.
Yeah, copy. Thanks. I'll keep playing with it.
But we're definitely
Um,
working towards probably, version 2.0 to be able to have that application be a little more user friendly on devices.
Two things that we've kind of found along with that, Dylan. One, just to make sure, because some folks set up their login.gov account under a different email, you can absolutely, and for the purposes of logging into WFDS, maybe should set up a login.gov account with your government email. So rather than a Gmail or whatever other email address you might have for a personal account. If you go in through a login.gov using your agency email or your primary email that you set up for WFDS, should be no difference between that and using your PIV card. Now, for USDA, so for Forest Service users, they also have a couple other options to use FAMOS on a mobile device with some of the things the agency has set up there. But for now, EOTH isn't doing anything for folks outside of USDA for those. So Forest Service users also have a couple extra options for using EOTH through FAMOS, even if they're not at a computer. So
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. I guess I wasn't putting it together, but also I have an account that my login.gov is my FireNet account. So completely different. Any other outstanding questions? As always, if anyone has anything that pops to mind, you can go ahead and email me or message me through the system. My email should be on the meeting invite, and it's definitely on the newsletter. Starting next week, we might have our own email address as well as some other contact information available. So we'll let you know when we have that to be able to go to the whole group. But yeah, we look forward to having folks get into the application and start getting familiar with it and really developing good questions so we can help prioritize training. So thanks everybody for your time.